Okay. First, I'd like to say welcome to our session today for GW's Art Therapy Graduate Program. My name is Sansare Burrell, and I am a current professor in the program. I teach a number of courses, and I am also the internship coordinator. So students in our program have two internships and one for each year in the program. And I get to coordinate all of those things. I am also a graduate of this program, so I think it's kind of nice to have the perspective both of a professor now and having been a student in the program. Again, we are recording this session, and there's also a Q&A section that I will be addressing at the end of the presentation. Keep in mind that this presentation has lots of information. I cover a lot of things. And for that reason, I take questions at the end because I'm likely going to answer your question as we roll along. For those questions that I don't cover, I will take about 10, 15 minutes at the end to answer those. All right, let me get everything in a row. Okay. So this is the art therapy graduate program at the George Washington University. And you can read the land ownership, land reverence information here. It's also on our website. So what is art therapy? There are, I guess, a number of ways to describe it, but from the American Art Therapy Association, it is an integrative mental health profession that combines knowledge and understanding of human development, psychological theories, and techniques with visual arts and the creative process to provide a unique approach for helping clients move psychological health, cognitive abilities, and sensory motor functions. That's sort of an all-encompassing definition, but as you will learn, art therapy spans lots of different spaces. A little bit of history about our program. It was co-founded in 1971 by Bernie Levy and Eleanor Allman. They're sort of what we call sort of the OGs of our space. And we are one of the oldest programs in the United States. And we are proud to share also that we were able to have some of the first instructors, Edith Kramer and Hannah Kwiatkowska, who are pioneers in our field. So our faculty is a small but mighty group of individuals. First, our director is Heidi Bardot. She tends to specialize in resiliency, trauma, an international focus, and specific work with grief and loss, survivors of war, immersion programs, and self-care. So our director also, in addition to directing, teaches a few classes in our program. Then there's me, Sansare Burrell. I am a professor and also the internship coordinator with a specific focus on supervision, the expressive arts and healing, using textiles, and a focus on diversity in the art therapy space. We next have Juliet King, who has a specific research focus in neuroscience, neuroaesthetics, translational health, and science, and has a specific interest in the mobile brain body imaging. So lots of expertise in that lane. She's not only a focus on research, but one of our professors as well. We then have Jordan Potash, who is also one of our research professors with a specific focus on social change, diversity, archetypal sort of approaches in art therapy, arts and health, and marginalized histories within the art therapy field. Finally, on our faculty, we have Erica Van Brunt. She is not only a professor, but she runs our clinic. We have a art therapy clinic that is not only a space where the community is able to seek services, but is also a place in our students' final year where students are able to practice their skills and are connected or linked with a client in order to provide those services. She ends up teaching our marriage and family therapy classes, assessment, and has a specific interest in cross-disciplinary collaboration and ethics. And our adjunct faculty, so what you just saw was our small full-time faculty, but then as we know that there are many, many courses that you'll get a chance to take, we also have our adjunct faculty. What's really nice about how we set up our classes is that our adjunct faculty, many of which are graduates of our program, but not all of them, um, are actually currently working in the field, so they're able to bring expertise. They teach a number of elective classes, core classes, and our practicum. So a wealth of knowledge that each of our students is getting from folks who are working currently in the field. Our students come from all over. We have both students who come from the United States. We have international students. We have students who have just graduated from undergraduate programs. We have students who are career switchers. We have some students who are joining us from K through 12 education. We have students who are taking art therapy on as a second career. So lots of different types of students in our programs. Our training components are sort of highlighted in this graphic here that kind of make up how we support and train our students. And that includes our coursework, internship placement, gallery opportunities, and a culminating project. So each student is essentially participates in all four of those sort of wheels, spokes in the wheel. We are accredited by ACATE and KHEP. So what's particularly of interest for our program is when students graduate, they're able to sit not only for art therapy licensure within their state, but also for counseling. So that would be your LPC, your licensed professional counselors. And this is, to me, specifically, it was of importance to me as I pursued both licenses. So our courses, we have both core and elective courses. So there are a specific list of those core classes that everyone takes. And then in the summertime, we offer a number of electives, which end up being 1-credit courses that allow students to sort of get specialized training and focus in areas that are of importance to them. One thing you're going to hear throughout this presentation and in the program, should you join us, is that we are aimed at developing the art therapist identity for each student. So we are not interested in cookie cutter art therapy. We essentially want to support you with the core foundation and encourage each of our students to develop that art therapist identity. And our electives a lot of times get a chance, give our students a chance to develop that. We have didactic and experiential work. A lot of what we do in class includes both what you would consider traditional graduate work, so papers, of course, but a lot of our work with classes, it has to do with art making, as art therapy tends to gel well with that model. And then, of course, many opportunities for presentations, papers, and the like. Our internships, this is kind of my lane as the internship coordinator. We end up during your course of the program, whether you choose to do full-time, which is 2 years, or part-time, which tends to be 3, sometimes a little more. During that time, you will have 2 internships. Over that time, we encourage, it says 1,000 hours. Many students will go for that. Sometimes they'll go for the 900. Essentially, you'll have to look at what the requirements are of the state that you're going to, but most states accept 900. You have the opportunity to do 1,000, and that's full indirect and direct contact. Of those hours, 400 of them while you're in the program are direct client hours. We, over the years, have acquired and built partnerships with a number of different sites working with various ages, in different settings, different diagnostic lanes, both clinical and community focused, with an emphasis on supervisor training. So students are able to be linked in a number of different internship spaces, starting with that first year. So we have students, as you're learning, you are also getting to practice those skills that you are learning. This image on the left was some years ago. There was a student who was able to, I'm not sure of the actual site, but was in a community space that Michelle Obama happened to visit and shared in part of the process with the art making. All right. Oh, one more thing about internships. One of the things that we encourage, and I specifically encourage, is that students have varied experiences. So if a student, for example, is placed in a community setting in their first year working with adults, then we encourage the student to change settings and population if possible. So that student who's working with adults in the community year 1, we encourage them to work with children and maybe in a different setting in their second year. These are images of our gallery. This is part of our space on the Alexandria campus. By the way, we are not housed on the Foggy Bottom campus. We are on the Alexandria campus. This is part of our gallery. We have at least 3 exhibits a year, the first of which is a gallery for our incoming students. So we always have art on the wall. Sometimes it's incoming students, sometimes it's graduating students. And then sometimes we have art up from our faculty. I currently have a space right now that has some of my artwork up. So we're really integrated into that process of having art around. Culminating project, each person, each student in the program will be taking on a culminating project, usually in the last year of study. It is case study based, meaning that students will identify a client or client group to be the focus of their project. What I like about this culminating project is it's not just something that's over on the shelf. There is an ongoing class that connects students with that professor to help along the process of writing that paper and completing that project. And another thing I like about this portion of it is that students get to decide the focus of that research. Some things that are unique to us at GW, we are trauma informed. Not only do we have our specialized trauma track, which I say track, everybody does it. But in your second year, you'll be taking Trauma 1 and Trauma 2. That will connect you not only with the skills necessary to work with folks who have experienced trauma, but also on a, you know, those skills are also helpful with folks who struggle with anxiety, for example. In conjunction with taking trauma, you're also linked with a client in our on-site art therapy clinic. That's a beautiful learning experience where students are able to get that real life experience of practicing those skills and having feedback from professors. So that's the art therapy clinic there. We also are post-COVID are gearing up to reignite our international study abroad program. I'll talk a little bit about that in a later slide. Our learning environment, state-of-the-art technology. It's a beautiful Mac lab that students have access to should they want that, and all kinds of things in the classroom I'll talk about in a bit. We are student focused with a commitment to anti-racism and anti-oppression. We have a vision statement that we continue to focus on and to amend. And instead of us just sort of making that statement, we involve our students and faculty in a collaborative effort and workshops to have that statement be meaningful and accountable for us. We are located in our nation's capital, well, in the area, the DMV area. If you are new to the area or not here, there's a unique space that we get to fit in this area. We foster lifelong learning and workshops with a focus on legacy, leadership, and community. Here's some images of our learning environment. If you see right in the middle, that is an outside view, sort of across a large area, a large field, and that's our building over there on the right. And the reason I think we put this in here is the space right around our building is quite nice. Students will often step outside for lunch or take a walk. It's just a nice environment. There are a number of restaurants and such in the space. So that's our space there. You can also see images of our classrooms. Those cabinets are full of all kinds of lovely art goodies. You can also see an image of our art studio. Students spend time in there, have access to materials, and will often complete classwork in that space. We have our department library and archive, so we have our own art therapy department. And what's nice about that space is former students and faculty will contribute to that space with books and literature and texts that are often unavailable in other spaces. Like I mentioned earlier, access to computer labs and printing should students need that. And if you look sort of on the left, that's our outdoor sort of veranda space, which is one of the more popular spots for stepping outside for lunch. Our trauma training, which I touched on a bit earlier, is while we have Trauma 1 and Trauma 2 in second year, students are exposed to trauma-based and trauma-informed learning as an integrated part of all coursework. But specifically, when students are able to be in those classes, we're looking at the neurobiology of trauma, what it does to the brain, and how that affects cognitive restructuring. There's a specific focus on loss and resilience, countertransference, and vicarious traumatization. We talk openly about those things as they are very important. And there's also opportunities to learn about how trauma affects veterans, victims of war, terrorism, disaster relief. Really a comprehensive view of how trauma affects people and how we work with clients who have experienced trauma. As I mentioned earlier, these are images of our art therapy clinic. These spaces are primed for great learning. Your sessions with your client are recorded. Clients know this. And what happens in a class when you are with your client, you'll be in a case concept class where you're reviewing your tapes, not only by yourself, but you're getting feedback from your peers as well as your professors. This is one of the most valuable resources to be able to be working with a client in real time and to get that feedback is quite unique for us. Our international study abroad program, as I said, we are what is the word I'm looking for? We're amping back up post-COVID to bring this program back. What we have traditionally done, and you can see the years we went to these specific places, we will alternate different places that the students go. While I was in the program, I think my first year, the cohort went to India. And then my second year was South Africa, and I got an opportunity to go. Life-changing. I won't spend an entire segment on this as much, but just to say that to be able to be in South Africa with my cohort and my professors and getting a perspective on not just a focus on art therapy in the States, but from a global perspective to be integrated with different people, to learn about my own biases, and to kind of have that real world outside of the States experience was life-changing. I believe we are planning to have this cohort go to India coming up next. And then lastly, if you see that middle picture where the enlarged statue of Nelson Mandela, that is me all the way on the left at the bottom with my cool shades on. I had a great time there. But yeah, it was life-changing experience. Okay, so I mentioned research earlier too. One of the things that is unique to our program is that culminating project and the fact that students are able to choose the sort of focus of the topic, which I like because it allows students to really focus in um, their interests, which I was mentioning earlier about that art therapist identity. So this is an opportunity for each student to engage in research, a case study based one, and we end up involving the faculty. There's an opportunity also, should students choose to participate in Research Day. We always have a group of students who get a chance to present their research to other members of the university, and those connections end up being really meaningful. As I mentioned earlier, we are student focused. Lots of the decisions that we make, we are focusing on what's best for our students and how to support them. As I told you, and you've heard quite a bit in this presentation, we are encouraging that development process of your individual art therapist identity. We have GWATSA, which is our student organization. Man, they do all kinds of things, from listening to student needs to engaging in fundraising work. They will host self-care meetups, and one of the cool things is the first years end up getting to plan the graduation party for the second groups. And we also link our incoming students, what we call Little SIB, with a second or third year student, which is the Big SIB, almost like a partnering as folks are coming in to have like a person designated to support them. Our anti-racist and anti-oppression statement, as I mentioned earlier, is a document that is dynamic. We are continually adding to, amending, and structuring this. And what I think is unique about this as well is we, as a department, don't just write the statement, put it out, and it stays. We involve our students in the process of contributing to this statement and what that statement means. We've had some opportunities to have specialized workshops to join together in community to talk about what this means and what our commitment is to this. In this image here, you'll see Albie, who is a graduate of our program. She's also someone who comes and speaks as a guest speaker, lecturer in some classes, and is also one of our supervisors for one of our internships. And she was featured, I forgot which magazine it was around the time when she did this, but
She was
she
in the, it was the Washington Post. It was the front cover of the Washington Post.
Thank you, Ingrid. That's Ingrid. She's everything. You'll get to know her better, but yes. So Washington Post front page, and she the mask she's wearing, she actually made those herself. So that was part of what I was mentioning about how we are sort of uniquely placed in the DMV area to be involved with some of the things going on around us. Um, what I was just saying. So because we are so in the DMV area, so close to DC, it gives us an opportunity to be exposed to things that we might not should we not be in this area. So there's an arts advocacy day. There are student opportunities to be involved legislation initiatives. And also, there's an image in the middle. There's an annual Dr. King Day of Giving. One of the nice things about that day is our department has traditionally um, offered workshops to the larger GW community to talk about resilience and sort of the pillars that Dr. King believed in. But because of our proximity to the Capitol, we just have access to a lot of different opportunities that have to do with our placement. When I talked about lifelong learning and workshops earlier, this is the part where we end up being committed to keeping in contact with our alumni, fostering those relationships, offering workshops and credit opportunities for our alumni and our community supervisors to be a part of. Those links are really important as our field is very small. So GW ends up being sort of a hub of communication, of connection. People are often circling back not only to teach, like myself, or to be a part of the program, to guest lecture, or to be a site supervisor. Further into our legacy in terms of leadership and community, we our larger sort of organization for art therapy is the American Art Therapy Association. We work sort of in conjunction in terms of membership. So ATA has student membership and professional membership. There's an annual conference, and it is a lovely opportunity for art therapists really around the world to come together to have workshops, be in community and fellowship. And GW always hosts a alumni party at that conference. We also have PATA, MATA, and VATA, which are our Potomac, Maryland, and Virginia Art Therapy Associations. We encourage student involvement and membership as they have opportunities for supervision. They often give awards and scholarships. So again, just another connection for folks in the field. So joining the GW Art Therapy program. Ingrid, do you have a hot moment would you like to cover this slide while I take a sip of
Yep.
tea? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ingrid Valdez. I am the program manager. So I do all of the admin, admissions, scheduling, whatnot. Go ahead, go to the next one. Our program has two options currently. We have the traditional master's program, which is 61 credits through 2 years. And this includes the 6 credits in trauma and 4 credits in electives that you take in the summer. And then the BA/MA is if you are already a GW undergrad, you apply in your junior year, and then you mix your senior year is a mix of the two programs. Go ahead. All right. This is the requirements. We have 18 credits in studio art. 3 of those credits need to be in drawing, 3 in painting, and 3 in figurative clay. The other 9 can be in anything you want. And the new difference is that 6 of these credits can be done in a workshop style, but you must have the equivalent in hours. So every credit is worth 12.5 hours of work. So if you could show that, and I know that can be really confusing, but we're happy to help with that. Our online application is currently open and we will start looking really soon. We ask for 15 to 20 examples demonstrating proficiency in drawing, painting, and figurative clay, and any other medium that you're interested in. So if you are a collager, if you're a photographer, if you're a sculptor, if you're more of a painter, then you can focus on that. But we really want to see that you have this base knowledge. We look for 2 letters of reference, and if you're an international student, you must have a TOEFL or a English placement exam. And then our interview days, which are going to be the 1st and 14th of February for this year, are in person. They're all day long. They start with a group and then an individual. They are actually a lot of fun and very well-rounded. We try really hard to make sure everybody is comfortable and happy. But it is a 9 to 4 kind of thing, but there's a lot of chocolate.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Me too.
Did you?
Financial aid. I got it. It is a full-time job to find financial support. We have some merit-based fellowships that range somewhere between $10,000 and $25,000. And these, we never know until admissions time how many of these we get, and we depend on the dean's office. We highly encourage you that if you're looking at an art therapy program, any art therapy program, you start looking for external funding now. So not only through GW, but maybe within your community, within your field. You know, we had a student once that her grandfather was part of the Scottish Rite, and she applied and was able to have all the paperwork, and they paid for her tuition. We had another one where they gave her some money. So there's a lot of external grants that you can go look for. And even if you don't know what school you're going to choose, you can already start looking. We do have the Minority Serving Institution Award, and you can find that online. And there are certain universities that are minority serving institutions that get a 40% discount if you receive that award. Then there's a GW work study. I think GW has something like 5,000 work study positions. They're mainly on the main campus, which is not where we are, but we have one work study every year. And then there's also like front desk on campus and things like that. All right, you want to do Q&A?
Wow, we got there already. Okay. Look, it doesn't always happen that way. Okay. Let me check out before I start Q&A. If you take a look at this page, that ArtX at GWU goes straight to Ingrid. And if there are further questions, I do believe the work study student also is involved with answering questions, which I think is great because, you know, we can as professors provide answers for things, but there may be things that you're curious about from the student perspective. So if you're interested in talking with our work study student, she's always happy to do so. All right.